Introduction to Algebra, Part 5, Substitution. At the end of this lesson, you will understand the concept of variable substitution and know how to rewrite equations with substituted variables. Sometimes we'll have problems with multiple equations. Take the following example. T equals 4x plus 27 minus 5y, and then x equals 23y. Here, t has two variables that it's dependent upon, both x and y. But also, we know that x is dependent upon y, and so we can rewrite the equation with just y. So we can say t equals 4 times 23y, because of the substitution, plus 27 minus 5y. Now we take 4 times 23, we get 92, so we get t equals 92y plus 27 minus 5y. Now we can take the 92y and subtract the 5y, that gives us 87y. So we get t equals 87y plus 27. And we say, well, if y equals 4, then t equals 4 times 87, which is 348, plus 27, which is 375. We can also go back and say that x is equal to 23 times 4, which is 92. Now, this idea of substituting for variables can be done not just with the simple 2 like we did before, but let's take a really complicated example with multiple variables. So we have z equals 4a plus 5b times 6c minus 30. And we know b equals 10a, and we say c equals 16b. And we want to solve for z where a is 5. So we're going to do this in a series of steps. So we know we've got C and B, and we want to get them all into A. So we're going to start with C. And we will remember that C equals 15B. So we say Z equals 4A plus 5B times 6 times 15B, because remember it was 6C, which is now 15B, minus 30. Now we do the multiplication. Z equals 4A plus 5B times 6 times 15 is 90, so it's 90b minus 30. And we say, okay, we still got to put stuff together. We say z equals 4a plus, now we take 5 times 90, that's 450, and we have b times b, so that's b squared. Remember squares, exponents, minus 30. So we know that z equals 4a plus 450 b times b squared minus 30. Now our equation has still got a and b in it. And remember, we want to get rid of leave ourselves with just a. So remember that b equals 10a. So we say z equals 4a plus 450b squared minus 30. And we're going to replace b with 10a. So we have z equals 4a plus 450 times 10a, that whole quantity squared, minus 30. Now, in this case, we have something we haven't seen before, this 10a in parentheses squared. And the way we handle this is we take each item and multiply it by itself. So we have 10 times 10 times a times a. So that gives us 100a squared. So we now put this back in the equation, z equals 4a plus 450 times 100a squared minus 30. Going to be pretty big numbers here because now we know that z equals 4a plus 45,000a squared minus 30. Now put in 5 for a. So we say, because we've got all a's now and we know a is 5, so we say z equals 4 times 5 plus 45,000 times 5 squared minus 30. Then we have z equals 20 plus 45,000 times 5 is 25 minus 30. Now here you can probably use a calculator at this point, and we get z equals 20 plus 1,125,000 minus 30, and z ends up being 1,124,990. So that was pretty difficult, so I want to show you another example of this. We have a equals 35x plus 45y minus 23z. Now, we also know that y equals 35x, and z equals y minus 4. Now you'll notice here we don't have an x equals, so we know x is the independent variable. Y, z, and a are the dependent variables. So we're going to start by replacing all our z's with y's. So we say a equals 35x plus 45y minus 23 times y minus 4. Now, when we've got a multiplier on a parentheses, we just multiply both sides. So we have a equals 35x plus 45y minus 23 times y, that's the first part of the parentheses, minus 23 times a negative 4, which is negative 92. Now we can subtract 45y and 23y and get a equals 35x plus 22y minus a negative 92. Now we replace y with x, that's our next step, which is 35x. So we say a equals 35x plus 22 times 35x minus a negative 92. So we multiply 22 times 35, and we say a equals 35x plus 770x minus 92. So now we've got a equals 35x plus 770x minus a negative 92. And we say we want to solve for x equals 3. So we say a equals 35 times 3 plus 770 times 3 minus a negative 92. So a equals 105 plus 2310, that's 2415. And remember, when you're subtracting a negative number, it's the same as adding a positive number, so we're adding 92. And so a is 22,507. So let's take some questions. Take the following equations. P equals 4x plus 5y minus 27, and y equals 3x. Now, first of all, write an equation where p is calculated just based upon x. So you will eliminate y out of the equation. And then after you've done that, solve for p where x equals 3. Now take the following equations. R equals 45x plus 27y minus 3z, y equals x minus 4, and z equals 5y. Now we want to write an equation where r is just dependent upon x, so we want to eliminate the z and y, and then solve for r where x equals 2. Now remember, with this one, you're going to eliminate the z's first, and then you're going to eliminate the y's. Go ahead and pause the video to answer these questions. It'll probably take you some time. Okay, so let's take a look at the answers. Well, the first one, we have p equals 4x plus 5y, and we know that 5y is 3x, or y is 3x. So we actually have p equals 4x plus 15x minus 27. Well, 4x plus 15x is 19x, so we know that p equals 19x minus 27, and we now want to solve for 3. Well, 3 times 9 is 57, minus 27, p equals 30. So that's the first one. You just simply replace y's with x's, and then you figure out the amount. Now with the next one, it's a little more complicated. We started with y equals 45x plus 27y minus 3z. That's that multivariable one. Now first of all, we're going to get rid of all the z's. And we know that z is 5y. So we know that r equals 45x plus 25y minus 15 times 5y, which is 45x plus 27y minus 75y. Now we want to get rid of all the y's, and we know that y equals x minus 4. So we have r equals 45x minus 27 times x minus 4 minus 75 times x minus 4. Now we say r equals 45x. Now remember, when you've got a parentheses like that, you simply multiply both. So we have 27x, so r equals 45x minus 27x, minus a negative 108, 27 times 4, minus, now we do the other side, 75x, 75 times x, minus 75 times negative 4, or 300. Now let's start combining stuff together. We know r equals 45x minus 27x minus 75x minus a negative 108 minus a negative 300. Then we say r equals 45 minus 27 minus 75 is negative 57, minus a negative 408. And then we want to solve for where x is 2, so we take 2 times the negative 57, we get negative 114. And so we end up with r being 294. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.